Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for having me. Since it's just a one-time share, there's a certain nakuda that I like to share very often, that even though it's not negaya to the Zman, but I think it's something that's relevant throughout the whole year, even though it comes from a certain sikha, Chayei Sarah and base. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the sikha. But there's a certain detail that I happen to have discovered through this sefer right here, this Ramalchus that has the pianuchim. They bring in the footnotes basically what the Rebbe alludes to. The Rebbe puts a source, and I don't know about you, but at least for me, I always say, okay, I'll look up the source later when I have time. Never get around to it. Years go by, and you never look up the source. So happens to be, there's a very geshmak and nakuda over here that comes out at the beginning of the sikha if you look at the Maimon Femis that the Rebbe brings. So the beginning of the sikha is well known, that the Rebbe talks about the concept that there are chidushim that sometimes happen in the shlichus, that shlichus is not a static concept, it's something that evolves over time, right? We always have the inyan of ani nivresi v'shamash eskoini, that I was created to serve the Eibishter, created to make a dir b'tachtoinim, and the way that we do that is through Torah and mitzvahs, right? Ramach mitzvahs say, shasam mitzvahs lois say. That's consistent always. And yet, nevertheless, within the framework of Torah and mitzvahs, there can be evolution, there can be chiddush, there can be innovation. So, we know this very well just from the Rebbe's Nesius, that over time the Rebbe came out with new things. You know, there was a time in the Rebbe's Nesius where there was no such thing as mitzvah tefillin, if you could imagine. Right? There was a time when we had no inyan to put on our bein talis. There was a time when we didn't learn Rambam yet. You know, the avodah changes over time. As the Rebbe comes out with new things, it means that now has become the time to do that thing. Not that there was anything missing before. Before, this wasn't an inyan, and now it is an inyan. And so this is what the Rebbe says at Chayei Sarah at the beginning of the sikha of Chayei Sarah and Beis, that there's a new chiddush in the shlichus. The shlichus has evolved, it's reached a new point, a new thing that needs to be accomplished. And the Rebbe says that not only is this thing a prat or a klal, it's not just a detail or like a generally relevant thing. It's actually the shar. It's the shar of the whole of Avodas Hashem. It's a gateway through which all of the other inyanei hashlichus go up to the Eibishter. So on this word shar, the Rebbe puts references to 3 sichas and 1 maimer of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And if you look at what the Frierdiker Rebbe says in those sources, it sheds a lot of light on this idea of what it means that there's a shar of the shlichus. So what I want to do is, I want to learn inside one of the sichas, the first sicha that the Rebbe quotes, and then right? Everybody can, there's more time. I encourage you to look at the rest of the sources on your own. You see that they're all basically bringing out the same idea, so that's why I want to spend the time on one, and then we'll talk about some other things. So this sikha, this is the first one that the Rebbe quotes, is from Sefer HaSichas Tafshin. So it's the Frierdiker Rebbe, and the Frierdiker Rebbe says like this: Be'echad mi'memari HaKadosh Amar Rabbeinu Nishmas Eden Lifnei Talmidei Cheder Aleph B'Shnas Tav Kuf Lamed Vav. One of the Maimarim that the Alter Rebbe said to one of the Chadarim. Az Amar HaRebbe Maimarim Ketzarim. The Alter Rebbe was saying short Maimarim then. Amar, he said like this: Kol neshama yesh la shlichus levatzei ba'olam hatachton. Every neshama has a shlichus to carry out, to express in the lower world. Zohi hakavana haklalis b'yeridas haneshama v'guf. This is the kavana and the neshama coming down into a body. U'lechol neshama yesh mitzvah pratis u'mida pratis she'alei alasek ba u'lesachna. Every neshama has a specific mitzvah and a specific midah that it has to be involved with and that it has to fix. Zehu Masha Rav Yosef Shoyal es Rav Yosef Berei de Rabba. And this is what one of the Chachamim asked another one of the Chachamim, Avucha b'may hava zayir tfei. He said, your father, what is he the most careful with? Now, says Alter Rebbe, this is a little bit of a peculiar question. Says La Mitase Shel Davar. The truth of the matter is, Harei Al Tehi Yeshev V'Shekel B'Mitzvah Shel Torah. You're not supposed to sit and weigh what is the most important mitzvah? Is this mitzvah more important, less important? These are all Hashem's mitzvahs, right? This is all Hashem's ratzon. So how could you evaluate what's more important? Elder Rav Yosef Shoyal. So rather, what Rav Yosef was asking is, Avucha b'mayha zahir tfei. What was your father the most careful with? Eze mitzvah ha'ira boy. The Alter Rebbe touches it up. Zahir doesn't only mean careful; it also means like shining. Which mitzvah shined by him the most? Shekein oisa mitzvah he mitzvah pratis shel Rabba, because that mitzvah is the specific mitzvah of Rabba, or was the specific mitzvah of Rabba. Hakavana hapratis b'chol adam. The kavana hapratis, which is a very interesting term. Kavana pratis means that the Eibishter has a plan in general, but he also has a plan for each one of us in particular, right? So
it's like hashgacha pratis?
Hashgacha pratis, but it's more in the sense of what is your mission. So even though we all have to do Torah mitzvahs, but there's a certain mitzvah that Hashem sort of has in mind for you, so to speak, that has to be your main thing. And the Rebbe is connecting that idea of kavana pratis to the shar. In other words, it gives an understanding of what shar means. That shar is, the Eibishter has a kavana that's very specific that is supposed to be involved in this thing. So the Alter Rebbe says, "Hakavana hapratis b'chol adam." This special kavana that the Eibishter has for each person, he zeh hashar la'Hashem hapratis shaloi. This is again using the word shar based on the pasuk zeh hashar la'Hashem. This is the gate to Hashem. Hapratis shaloi, the specific one for that person. So your kavana pratis is your gate to connect to Hashem, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because it's like saying that if I'm doing not just the general mission that Hashem has for me, but the specific mission that Hashem has for me, then I'm going to be more connected to Him. It really makes a lot of sense.
How do you know what your specific directive one?
So we'll talk about that too. Like it says in the Zayar that this is the gate to Lamaila. Shar meshamish l'chanisa v'yitzia, and a gate is something that's used for going in and going out. Hakavana hapratis yashar shel kol hamitzvos she'adam mekayim. This kavana is the gate for all the mitzvahs that a person fulfills. HaTorah shu leimed v'amidas tevis v'avos Yisrael shu neig behen. The Torah that he learns and the good midas and the avos Yisrael that he has. Oilim la'Hashem darkoi. They all go up to Hashem through this gate. So he says one other point, but let's just talk about that for a second. So what that means is, this gate is something that connects your other mitzvahs to Hashem. We don't always think about that. It's an interesting idea that we think a mitzvah connects me to Hashem. That's how we always talk about it, and that's true. And yet, the Frierdiker Rebbe is saying over here, I'm quoting the Alter Rebbe, that this mitzvah that's your shar, whichever one it might be, actually connects your other mitzvahs to Hashem. Like your other mitzvahs need help connecting to Hashem. It's not something that's spoken about so often, but that's what we're saying over here. That without this shar, so the other mitzvahs don't go up properly. They don't connect the way they're supposed to. They still connect, of course, but not exactly the way they should, not in the full shleimus that they should. So that brings out how fundamental of a concept in Avodas Hashem this idea of a shar is, because it affects everything else. It affects the things of everything else. In other words, if you imagine that, suppose that your shar, I'll pick on myself. Suppose my shar was to learn Seder Nezikin, Bava Basra and Bava Kama, yeah? I'm not so into these things. If that were my shar, so I think that I do a lot of good things with my time, but I don't really do a whole lot of that. So if that would be my shar, that would be a little bit of a problem for me, because it means the Eibishter has the specific kavana that I'm supposed to be learning these Gemaras, and I'm not doing that. So it's great that I'm doing all other things and it's still very holy and so on, but there's something missing if this is the Eibishter's kavana pratis for me, right? And so automatically that means there's something that could be improved in my connection if I would be doing that shar. Yeah? So that's the first point that the Frierdiker Rebbe says over here about the shar. Then the second point, and this is where they stop quoting the sikh over here, through this shar of the kavana pratis, the specific kavana for every person, nimshach la'adam shefa bracha hel yena beruchnis v'gashmis. Through that, you get the shefa, the flow from the Eibishter that becomes your gashmistic and ruchnistic brachas. Yeah? If you ask me, that line means it's Pashat Avos Yisrael to be Mefars in this Indian of a Shar. Because it's Pashat helping you get Gashmis and Ruchnis. Yeah?
Every time the Rebbe gives a sikha, it's always Yisrael.
Yeah. That's for sure. So, but I'm saying it's Avos Yisrael for us. It's Avos Yisrael for us to help. If we could find a way to do it, then it would be a major Avos. What?
So you're saying we got Mashiach.
We'll get there in a second. 1 second. So if I would know what the shar is, right, for a particular person, then it would be big Avos Yisrael for me to tell this person that that's their shar and help them get involved in it, because that's all their ruchnias and gashmis. That's how their mitzvahs are going to connect to Hashem properly.
If you know what a shar is.
If you know what the shar is, right? So what becomes the big question? If I'm taking my avodas Hashem seriously, and now I learned about this concept of the shar for the first time. So what would be the first thing that I would want to know? What would be the first thing that I would do? Everybody's talking about it
Ask
already.
Mishpia.
Ask your mashpia. Okay, but more generally, you should ask your mashpia. But more generally, I want to know what is my shar, right? If I realize this, if I deher this a little bit, I shouldn't be able to live without knowing what's my shar. All my Torah mitzvahs go up through this. All my ruchnis and gashmis are coming through this. It's the yesod of my avodas Hashem to know what's my shar. How could I live without knowing it? Yeah. So ideally, what I love to do, I would really want to. You can ask your mashpia. I was going to say I would run to Yechidus if I could, right? And if I had a 30-second Yechidus with the Rebbe, I would say, "What's my shar?" That's the one thing I gotta know. Everything else is going to flow from there. If I know my shar and I put myself into that, everything's going to flow. Right? My other Torah mitzvahs will connect properly. I'll get the bracha, baruch nisa, begashmis. That's what it's saying over here.
Is that like when you write to the Rebbe and he tells you specific things to do? Like,
Not necessarily.
I don't learn that way. That's not my sheet to see.
So
Very snatch.
So what I would want to do is run to the Rebbe and find out from the Rebbe what's my shar, right? I have to know. It's Negea B'Nefesh.
And now it's Gimel Thomas.
So now we can't ask the Rebbe. So now what are we going to do? So the answer is right here. The answer is, not that I'm saying we don't need the Rebbe, we don't need the Yechidus, of course we do, but the information is right here. The Rebbe bevarns everything. Yeah? And the Rebbe tells us, this is the translation over here, the original sikh is in Yiddish, Mitesef mizman lezman, chidush b'shlichus. There becomes from time to time a chidush in the shlichus. Shlichus miyuchedes, a special shlichus. Sheyichederes es kol inyani an shlichus v'hinasis hashar. That's where the footnote is. Shal yodei elim kol inyani hashlichus. Yeah. Sometimes it happens that there's a new thing in the shlichus. There's a new shar. And al achas kama v'nidin didan. How much more so in our case? Shehu chidush klali v'ikri she'enei rak prat klal b'shlichus. Elahu ikir ve'inyan klali v'yeser v'ad shu inyan hachi klali b'teira hachana l'biyas ha'mashiach shemachav es kol ha'nekudis v'apradim shal v'edis ha'shlichus. Yeah, so the Rebbe is saying this is not only a shar, this is like how much more so in our case that this is the most fundamental thing in the whole Yiddishkeit that we have to prepare for Mashiach. And of course we all know the Lashon that the Rebbe goes on to say that what's needed to be done is that we should liyes muchanim b'pel l'kabbalas b'nei Mashiach tzikenu b'pel mamash. We have to accept Mashiach b'pel mamash. That's how the Rebbe concludes the hemshech of that idea.
So did the Rebbe just say that that's all of our shars to connect?
Exactly, that's exactly what it's saying. And that it says in the Panim of the Sikha, that's not a Chiddush. That's what it says straight. What I'm trying to bring out is that there's a whole depth to what it means, the shar, that this is how all our Torah mitzvahs connect. This is how our Gashmis and Ruchnias comes through this. And it's our Kavanah Pratis. And the Rebbe is saying, we all know that the Rebbe said that. That's the Panim of the Sikha. I'm not saying that. We all know that the Rebbe is saying that shar, for all of us who are shluchim, like the Rebbe says later in the Sikha, that every year is a shliach. So for all of us, the shar of the shlichus is this kabbalas pnei Mashiach tzikenu b'pel mamash. So automatically it has to be something that's negei b'nefesh, because all of our Torah and mitzvahs. In other words, if we would be doing everything b'shleimus and not preparing for Mashiach, not thinking about Mashiach, not wanting Mashiach, not kochim Mashiach, it's all amazing, but there's something very fundamental that's missing, right? Just like I said in my example of if my shire is to learn Bava Basra and I'm doing everything else but learning Bava Basra, there's something missing, because the Eibush has that kavanah for me. So what the Rebbe is saying is that for us now, it's a chiddush that happened around the time of Chayes Arden and Beis, at the Kinnis Shluchim, when the Rebbe said the Sikha. This became the shar for everyone, and this is what we have to do. So what's Pshat Kabbalah's Pnei Mishas Kenu? It's almost like I told you to ask that question. So the Sikha Chayes Arden and Beis is a very long Sikha, and there's a lot of deep ideas, Yichud Ma'alban, and Shlichus, and the Moshe Rabbeinu, and all kinds of things. So sometimes I've seen in discussions with people that sometimes the practical part of the Sikha gets a little bit lost, because it's all the way at the end when the Rebbe finally comes with the Pashat, straight out, Hira, Machshav Dibur Maaseh. It's all the way at the end of the Sikha. So now that we have this realization of what the Rebbe is saying in the Shar, so it's obvious there's something tangible that the Rebbe is expecting us to do. So I think we should just, it's kedai to learn inside now that small part of the Sikha where the Rebbe talks about what to do practically.
This is the same Sikha?
Same Sikha. This is Ois Yud Dalet. I'm changing because this is in Lashon HaKodesh and this is in Yiddish. And then at the end I'll squeeze in one more Meir Malcolm from here. So the Rebbe says like this. Derfun hat men die Hira bepeil was man darf Reis nehmen ständig itzter bei der Haschala Psicha von dem Kinnis Shluchim Ha'ilami. Now we have the Hira bepeil that we need to take out from the Kinnis Shluchim. B'chol der Reish darf men Reis kommen mit der Hachraza v'Heda zu alle Shluchim. We have to come out with an announcement to all of the Shluchim. Very interesting that the Rebbe says that, by the way. Just stam. The Rebbe was talking to the Shluchim, and the Rebbe says to make an announcement to the Shluchim. Interesting, yeah? But whatever, that's a Hergish already. Some Shluchim were not there, or maybe it's possible to forget over time, or whatever. Okay. Anyway, that's a Hergish. As the Avedas HaShlichis, it's there, the Avedas HaShlichis now, unfun jeder Yidin. Oh, there we see clear. I even forgot that it said that. Unfun jeder Yidin, from every single Jew, b'shteit in them as mezol mekabel zayin pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu. Right? It's expressed in this that we have to accept Mashiach Tzidkenu. Again, what does that mean? It's funny. Every time I talk to someone about Chayes Arden and Beis, is one of my favorite sikhas. I speak about it a lot. Very often it's Kabbalah's pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu, and then another person says whatever that means. So it's very interesting, as the Rebbe says here, Makabel Zayin Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu, and the Rebbe says, Das haste. What does Das haste mean? That means. This means. It's like the Rebbe knew that we were all going to be sitting here saying whatever that means. You know, all these years later. So the Rebbe says, this means. I never saw that before in a Sikha. I don't know. Anyway, Alla Pratim in the Avodas HaShlichus von Afatzas HaTorah v'Hayadis v'Afatzas Mayanos Chutza. All of the details of the Shlichus and spreading Torah and Yiddishkeit and spreading Chassidus. Darfen sein durchgenommen mit der Nekuda, wie das führt zu Kabbalah's Mashiach Tzidkenu. They all have to be permeated with this point of how does this lead to the accepting of Mashiach. Now that itself we could bring about. That Hira itself we could open up and say, okay, what's a Chassidus shir that's durchgenommen with Mashiach? What's a Nigla shir that's durchgenommen with Mashiach? What's a Parsha shir that's durchgenommen with Mashiach? What's Mivtzoyim that's durchgenommen with Mashiach? What's a Verbrengen that's durchgenommen with Mashiach? We could open up that paragraph for hours, but that's Verbrengen style. But we should have a Verbrengen. We should do that. Talk about.
What does it mean? What is?
I think each prat you have to think about specifically. In other words, what does a Verbrengen look like? If a Verbrengen is with Mashiach, what does Mitzvah Tefillin look like? If it's working with Mashiach, the answer is not going to be the same. So Mivtzoyim might be Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. You know what Rashi says on Shema Yisrael? Anybody remember? It's funny, we're used to seeing Shema in the Siddur, we forget what it says in Chumash. Rashi says on Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that Hashem is now our God. There's going to be a time when He's God of the whole world. Pshutei Shel Mikra on Shema Yisrael that we have everybody say on Miftoyim is that there's going to be Mashiach who's going to make the God of the Jews the God of the whole world. Pasha Pshah. One example of what it could mean, after one way that Miftoyim could be a little more darker than with Mashiach. Yeah, but that's not. But let's see, because the Rebbe says even something more practical than that. That we could forbring, we could open up for a long time. But I want to keep moving. So the Rebbe says, Wie unterstrachen in dem Neuse Hakenes, Kol Yemei Chayecha Lahavi Yemei Mashiach, it is emphasized in the theme of the Kines. Kol Yemei Chayecha Lahavi Yemei Mashiach, all the days of your life, to bring the days of Mashiach. Alla Inyani Aveda, B'chol Yemei Chayecha, B'chol Yem Atzmei, B'chol Pratei, B'shois Hayem. So there is not just every day, every minute, every detail and every hour of the day. Darfen Zayin Durch Yenumen Mit Halahavi Yemei Mashiach. They have to be permeated with this, that I'm bringing Mashiach. Nit blois the rabbis, wie es steht bekoimes, as der Shliach steht und wart bis Mashiach. Not only this, the Rebbe is using the limudim from the pasuk to bring out that it's not just that we're waiting for Mashiach. Wart bis Mashiach, wird kommen und demult wird in dem Eintel nehmen und der Fun Hana haben v'chulu. So it's not just that the Shliach is waiting for Mashiach to come and then he's going to enjoy it and have Hana and so on. Nor lahavi, rather he's bringing to call a talui boy to bring in limaisa Mashiach lashon rabim nit blois de aschala fun ein tag nor fun yemais lashon rabim yemaisa Mashiach und nit nor when Mashiach is becheskas Mashiach nor alle yemaisa Mashiach euch the shleimes fun Mashiach vadai v'chulu. Okay, that's a separate from bringing what the Rebbe is trying to bring out without Cheskas Mashiach Mashiach Vadai, but the next paragraph is the key. Upapashtus meintas, simply this means, finally this is, again, meintas, yeah, simply this means, as fundem kines hashluchem, darf men kommen und havi hachlatus tevis wie jeder Shliach darf sich allein zu greiten und zu, allein zu greiten, he has to get himself ready, und zu greiten alle Yidden bim koimai uvi ira v'chulu, and he has to get all of the Jews in his place and his city ready to mekabel sein pnei Mashiach tzidkenu, to accept Mashiach durch dem was, that's the key. Through this, finally after all of that build up, here's the key. Through this, that is masber dem inyan von Mashiach, he explains the concept of Mashiach, kemavur b'teresh v'sav b'teresh v'peh, b'oifen hamiskabel zu yeder and lefi sichlei v'avanase. There's a lot of talk about b'oifen hamiskabel. There's not a lot of talk about the words that it says right before b'oifen hamiskabel. The Rebbe says to be masber zayin, the inyan of Mashiach, the way it's explained in the Torah. Pashat teach Yidden Torah about Mashiach. At the end of the whole build-up, that's the most clear, straight, practical Torah. Teach the Yidden in every place the concepts of Mashiach, the way they're explained in the Torah.
It's not the same word as what is it before about the Kalbem Shazakeno. And everything and every avoid that you do, whatever it is, it should be, coming in with Mashiach. This is more like Pashat Luman Yom Mashiach. This is like telling you learning Yom Mashiach with others. Before we're saying, well, like whenever you're putting on tefillin, it should be somehow with Mashiach somehow.
Right. So the question is, are they two different heroes in the same sikha? Are they connected to each other? Let's see. So Kaleb Miyuchad, including and especially durch limud in Yonei Mashiach Geula, especially through learning Mashiach Geula, befrat ba'ofen von Chachma Bina v'das, and especially in a way we're all familiar with the concept of Chachma Bina and Das. That first you believe, and then you understand it, and then you internalize it, it changes your emotions, right? Und heyos as das is there the avodah von dem Zman, since this is the avodah of the time, is muvan as das is shaykh to yeder yidin on oisnam kla. This is shaykh to every single Jew without exception at all. So there again we have the answer to the question. Is the Rebbe saying that this is the shar for every single one of us? I think clearly you have the answer is yes.
Meaning on Mol, everyone had their own shar, and now everyone has the same shar.
So that's a good question. There's a whole pilpul also in the thing over here about whether a person could have two sharim because mitzad Gilgal or something like that. There's a whole thing.
Clear, it says that. I'm just thinking when you were saying it. It says there that everyone's own shlichus has to be durchgenommen with Mashiach.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of that everyone has their own avodah in this world. But the general shar of the dur is to bring Mashiach, so their shlichus has to be connected with Mashiach.
As if to say that maybe what the Rebbe is saying, maybe we can discuss it more, but maybe what the Rebbe is saying is that the shar is not so much about what is your pratistic task that you're doing. Even though we all obviously are going to have our tasks, some people are going to be malamdim, some people are going to be this, some people are going to be that. Obviously, that doesn't go away. But the shar is that whatever your task is, the shar is not the task itself. The shar is that task should be dorchinomen with Mashiach. In other words, it's not only a specific Hira, even though here the Rebbe does give a specific Hira that you have to teach people about Mashiach, but it's also the Durch die Numenkeit. It's the fact that Mashiach is in everything else. So just to plug that back into our original understanding of the Shar.
So it's two separate things, or it's not?
So
two separate details.
it could be Ma'ayin and exactly the pilpul, but looking at the Pil, right, which is, to me is the most important thing. So the Rebbe is saying really three things. One is that everything has to be Dorchin with Mashiach. The other one is to live in the way of the Havi and Mesa Mashiach, that every moment of my day, Kol Yemei Chayach al Havi Mesa Mashiach, I'm always trying to bring Mashiach, and that's always on my mind, that's my goal. And the third thing is that the Rebbe says Pasha to go and explain the idea of Mashiach by teaching in Yanigul Mashiach. You could always be Ma'ayin more in the Fapel and the Pratim, but I want to stick to what's in the Gale Pel. Yeah? Does everybody agree? We have those three Hedrois?
Wait, don't leave. We need to make Ma'ayin. Hello.
He's opening the door.
What?
The three Hedrois, you see, one is that everything has to be Dorchin with Mashiach.
He's down there?
I don't hear.
Another one is
What
is door?
Dorchin permeated. So all the details have to be permeated with Mashiach. Two is Kol Yemei Chayach al Havi Mesa Mashiach, that every minute of my life I feel like my mission is to bring Mashiach. And three is that I go and teach Yidden in every place, wherever place I am, I'm teaching them the concepts of Mashiach the way that they are explained in the Torah. Torah Shebeksav and Torah Shebal Peh, which means the Nevi'im, the Gemara, everything. Not only Chassidus, not only Nigla, the whole works, wherever it talks about Mashiach, explain it to people. Yeah?
What's about this? One more thing from you, you said? You have something about the
Yeah, so I want to finish off, but as long as we have those three Herois very clear, so now we've overcome a big Yetzer Hara, which is to think that there's nothing concrete that comes out of the Sikha. There is something, there's at least these three things that are very, very concrete, what it means Kabbal's Pnei Mashiach Tzekenu. Right? Agreed? So now,
That's the meaning of the Kabbalah.
yeah, I don't want to limit it to that. I think we could always be ma'ayin in the Sikha more and see, but those three Hayrois are clearly there. Yeah. And the Rebbe says that's the shlichus of every yid. And at the beginning of the Sikha, the Rebbe said that this is the shar of the shlichus, which is the main point that I wanted to bring out. That this connects your other avodah to Hashem. It makes it all the shleimus. It brings it all to what it's supposed to be, and that has the proper results in terms of brachas, baruch nisu v'gashmis. Now, I just want to address one other thing that also comes up in a lot of discussions.
It's in English.
This is English and Hebrew, both. So I discovered this very recently. I was learning through the Sefer this year on Gimel Tammuz. Just wanted to see Pashat the Rebbe's Hayrois. That was what I felt like doing in Gimel Tammuz. And I found something fascinating. In a sticha, so it turns out that this Chayes Arnon Beis is not the first time that the Rebbe came and said, this avodah is the shar of now. It's not the first time it happened. In fact, I heard that in Memches, the Rebbe said it by Hakel, but I never saw the source, but I'm sure that it's true. But I found a sikha from Mem Zayin where the Rebbe speaks about making every house a Chabad house, attaching a pushka to the wall. Maybe you're familiar with these things. And the Rebbe says at the end of the sikha something very profound that addresses a very important question. The very important question is, what? It's in Mem Zayin, it's from the Sefer, you can check exactly what sikha. It doesn't say right here, but the Rebbe addresses a very important question, which is that, so if I have this shar, so what about everything else? Isn't everything else also important? So what, you're going to tell me we shouldn't learn Gemara anymore, we should learn Yanigul Mashiach all day? I get that a lot. You hear it a lot. And the Rebbe addresses it right here.
He said everybody in the house, that's only the shar through. Shar means
So,
the gates.
right, that's true. You can answer already from this sikha that it's about the Dorch Numenkeit.
To walk through.
Yeah. But, so that's what I normally answered up until I found this piece that I think just makes it so clear. Okay, so the Rebbe says like this. Benegea to something that the Rebbe, something else in Mem Zayin, it's also an interesting point. In Mem Zayin, the Rebbe is saying the shar is something else. In Mem Beis, it already changed. Yeah. So this is what the Rebbe says about that mitzvah that he said was the shar in Tavshin Mem Zayin. So the Rebbe says like this: Koleimar, ein lasik bekach kedavar neisaf bein shar in yonei ha'avodah. We shouldn't get involved in this thing like an additional thing, Mem Zayin. Like an additional, this making Batei Chabad, the Torah of Veda and Gemilas Chesed in every house. So the Rebbe says, "Ein lasek b'kach kedavar neisav ben shar and yonei aveda." We should not be involved in this like something additional among all of the other aspects of aveda. Elazu tzarich aliyes ha'aveda ha'ikris v'ha'reishis shel hashana haba. This needs to be the main aveda and the beginning of the coming year. Ubulashna yedua mitzvah dahave zahir tfei. This should be the mitzvah that is zahir tfei, that shines the most, or that you're most careful with. Ubulashna hakabbalah v'chassidus, and in the words of Kabbalah and Chassidus, hashar shedarkei eilim kol inyanei Torah mitzvahs. So this thing that I'm talking about now in Mem Zayin is the shar. So we don't just deal with it like an additional detail. And now the Rebbe says even more practical. Ukumuvan v'gam pashut, as is understood and also simple. Ein inyan zeh dehave zahir tfei goyreach has v'sholem me'shar ha'inyanim. This thing that's the shar, the zahir tfei, it doesn't take away chas v'sholem from any of the other inyanim. But adrabah, on the contrary, drusha tesefes hiskabris chadasha b'chol inyanei aveda. We need a new strength in all aspects of avodah, even the things which are not the shar. Ela shebezeh gufa tzarich liyes hadgasha miyuchedes be'inyan zeh sheboi have zahir tfei. Rather, within this itself, within this general strengthening of our entire avodas Hashem, so there needs to be a special emphasis on this thing which is the zahir tfei. V'adrabah kevan she'inyan zeh nasa shar l'chol inyanim ha'acherim. Since this idea, this concept is the shar for all of the other things, Harei kol heisafa v'chidush b'shar mevia leheisafa v'chidush b'chol inyanei havayda. Every addition and chidush in the shar brings to heisafa and chidush in everything else. In other words, we're not saying to replace anything with this shar. We're saying if you go through this shar, it brings everything else to its shleimus. It connects everything else to Hashem properly. It fulfills the kavana pratis. It brings you brachas, gashmis of ruchnis, and pashut practically. Now that I was saying over here that it brings all of the other avodah to shleimus, pashut practically, you'll be on a higher madrega in all the other things you're trying to do if you add in this shar. In other words, if you invest in the shar, everything else goes. And when we
So it's like every mitzvah.
And not just to go to Inyan Gul Mashiach Shir, but make everything Dorch and Numen. The point of going to the Shir is not that, okay, I went to this Shir, and I hope that this Shir will be the one that brings Mashiach, and if not, we'll try again next week. No. The Shir is meant to transform you, to make everything else Dorch and Numen, because that's the Shar, is the Dorch and Numen.
So
You should see everything B'Pel Mamish, starting with the Gul Elitis Mashleim.